What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts Podcast for episode 24. I am your host, Thomas TB Racing 3, joined by Gene, Flag to Flag NASCAR, and Caleb Dunstan 9. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Doing pretty good this evening. Got a lot to hit on the intro, but I'm doing pretty good.
Cool. How are you, Gene?
I'm doing good, brother. Doing good. Been waiting for episode 24 to drop so I could wear this shirt. Caleb and I were just talking, man. This shirt dropped a long time ago, actually, when he retired. But it's called an Obvious Tee, and that's a website there. But it just says Jeff Gordon is still my favorite driver in block letters for those that are listening on Spotify. But we're all decked out in 24 gear, man, for this banner episode for the NASCAR N&B pod because we are all Jeff Gordon fanatics.
You know, I think me and you could about wear the same size. You know, I think I needed that at Hendrick Fan Fest when I was shaking hands with him.
Well, Caleb, I put on some pounds, brother, so I don't know if this one you could wear this as a blanket, maybe. But nah, man. Yeah, you definitely could use it. There's another one that says I drive fastly, call me Jeff Gordon after
after the wasn't Nelly after Nelly's song,
yeah EI by Nelly. So for those that there's a bunch of Jeff Gordon reference rap songs, so we love them all. But yeah there's that one too. That one sold out, unfortunately, I would have had that one too. But Thomas, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, well, you know, Jeff's, you know, he's quite the character. You know, he's a big rap fan, big Love and Life fan, Burning Man fan. So I mean, you know, and I don't think many people notice, but did you guys know Jeff Gordon breakdances?
Oh my God, no, I didn't know that.
Really?
I want to say I've heard that, but I've never witnessed any live video of that or
well,
or even,
yeah, go ahead.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's I think it was at one of the NASCAR award banquet shows or like one of those pre-race or pre-season award media things going on, and I think Jimmy Johnson kind of called out Jeff Gordon, and next thing you know, Jeff Gordon was on the stage, you know, flipping and turning and breakdancing. So yeah,
I think now that I think about it, I've seen a video of somebody doing that, but the video was so blurry I couldn't tell who it was.
It might have been him.
So that probably was the one you're talking about.
My man out there cutting up the cardboard.
So that means you're going to be breakdancing next, right? If when Kyle Larson wins next, you're going to be breakdancing for the N&B listeners, correct?
Man, listen.
Be about every week.
Break dance in my mind because I will bring the break dance if I tried to do that at this.
Jeff Gluck's got his rap, so you got to do breakdancing.
Well, I used to dabble when I was about 8, but yeah, that was 4 decades ago, fellas. So we're not gonna be breaking out the cardboard for me in the boombox.
That's funny. Well, if you fellas don't have anything for this this intro, I kind of just want to hit on today. Kind of got started early and kind of just went on a whole race shop sweep today. I started my way to Hendrick and I ended at Joe Gibbs Racing. So went over to Hendrick and, you know, as always, just checking out what's going on over there and seeing what they're up to and whatnot. And I went up to Penske. I went up to Penske as well and took upon their fan walk. And what I wanted to tell you guys. So the infamous Alan Kawicki sign at the old Spire is no longer there behind the Speedway. It's gone. It's gone.
Oh, dude, that's sad. Saddens me to hear that. Have they just all but moved out of that building?
I think, yeah, pretty much. It's just everything besides the for sale sign in the front. So, but the Alan Kawicki sign is no longer there. So that was, you know, though we didn't grow up with Kawicki, but hearing the stories and stuff, I was like, dang, it kind of was a punch in the gut still, you know, not seeing that. But
yeah.
Yeah, went up to JGR. So Joe Gibbs, I went up to get Joe Gibbs Racing and knocked. That's another race shop knocked off the bucket list. Never been there, and they got a little cool fan walk where you're surrounded by some trophies from Kyle and Denny and Seabell and Truex and whatnot. But I went up to the new Spire as well, and I want to say, I mean, I understand it's a new building and what. It's kind of depressing. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
It's definitely not KBM no more. I mean, the gift shop was probably the size of this room. So I mean and they didn't really have much. So I thought that was pretty sad. But so I wanted to also hit on. I didn't really stumble upon, but while taking in my race shops, I decided to ride past DEI, and I just want to say, I mean, it was pretty eerie. The time the gate happened to be open, so I went in and yeah, I mean, it was just like you step out the car and the wind was blowing. I know how they said Dale could see the air and everything, but it was just like you could feel like the Earnhardt presence was just there. I mean, it was just eerie, cars going by and just silence and nobody else around, and just seeing like the Black 3 and the ambiance behind that car. I mean, it was unbelievable just thinking about how much DEI used to be and how much that campus has meant to Dale and the whole 3 team in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, man, I the last time I was probably there was maybe a couple years after 2001, and definitely there that year as well. And I mean, that place was just awesome when it was in its heyday. Hate to see it's now basically just a building that just sits there, man. But I'm glad the gate was open. If a gate's open at a racetrack or a race shop, Kaleb's going to find a way inside, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I was saying to myself, I was like, man, I got to make this quick, get all the pictures I can before Teresa pops out of the bushes or something, and
Oh my God.
takes my phone and makes me delete my pictures, then slams my phone on the ground and break it. So it's like I had to get out of there.
Oh, Kaleb, it would be worse. She'd sue you, buddy.
You
You're
can catch a
probably
lawsuit,
right.
man.
God,
Yeah.
be Kaleb versus Teresa Earnhardt in Iredell County.
Oh my God.
Exactly, because if she's gonna sue Kerry Earnhardt for his furniture business, she's darn sure gonna sue Kaleb Dunstan for trespass.
I thought about it. I really did.
Oh well. Hopefully wherever she is, she's happy. And I don't really have nothing really for the intro, man. Thomas, what you got, man?
I don't have anything for the intro either.
Okay. Well, I'm glad Kaleb got to go around and do the race tour thing. I mean, that's like when you live in Charlotte area, that's if you get up and got some time, that's what we do here on the NMB. We'll just find ourselves at a race shop or the racing warehouse or somewhere like that, getting our fix in.
So you guys got anything else?
All you.
All right. So the racing rundown tonight. NASCAR Cup Series just left Sonoma for the Toyota Save Mart 350. And I mean, I know last week on the podcast, I was kind of down about this race, thinking it was going to suck and everything. And I guess, it wasn't outstanding, but I did enjoy it. I mean, I think all the cautions towards the beginning of the race made it more tolerable for me, seeing some lead changes and everything. And I got a couple things written down about this race I want to talk about. The first thing would be the Larson and Truex battle towards the end. That to me was very entertaining and, made the race watchable. But what really stood out to me towards the end of the race was the heartbreak for Kyle Busch. I mean, he was on his way to a top 5 finish and then got wrecked by Chastain. And I'm not exactly sure where he ended up after that wreck, but it wasn't a top 5. 12th, okay. So just outside the top 10. But, Kyle Busch and RCR has been struggling, the whole season really. And, I was really hoping, he could get a top 5 and, get some morale boost and hopefully, carry that momentum on to next week and the rest of the season. But once again, something happens to him and his day doesn't end as good as it should have. And also this week, we saw the second week in a row of JGR engine failures, or not engine troubles, I should say, because Christopher Bell's engine didn't fail completely, but it had an issue to the point where he couldn't win the race. And I guess lap 1 or 2, we saw Denny Hamlin completely blow up, smoke everywhere, which, me as a Denny Hamlin fan, that hurt to see. But I still enjoyed the race anyway. But the last thing I want to hit on for this race is the Chase Elliott pit strategy. Now, when Larson came down pit road for his final stop, I was hoping Chase would follow him, but he decided not to. He decided to stay out a little bit longer, which cost him some track position. If he would have stayed right there with Larson, he would have, been in the top 5. He would have cycled out with Larson, and he would have had a better shot at the win. But he was back towards 10th, couldn't pass Chastain or Suarez or whoever was back there. He couldn't pass. And, he made his way up to the top 5 towards the end of the race. But I feel that if he would have pitted with Larson when he should have, he would have had a much better shot at winning the race. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that for sure. And I don't know. There was a lot of weird strategy going on, and obviously the cautions to start the race. It did feel kind of weird, man. I enjoyed the race, obviously, but and watching Kyle Larson track down the leaders was pretty cool. But for a road course and what we've been used to in the next gen, I guess you could say it was better than average all the way around. And if you're a Larson fan, obviously you had the full benefit of that. But Kaleb, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely better than what I expected. I enjoyed that the track was faster. It was, I mean, drivers seemed like they were. It seemed like drivers had to actually drive. That's what it seemed like to me. But I mean, I was not too fond of all the cautions in the first part of the race. I mean, I just wasn't. I mean, it made the race interesting, but it just wasn't. It wasn't my cup of tea on that end. Though, I mean, back half of that, I honestly think it was a good race. I liked the part of the race. I think coming to the stage 2 and, with the Larson group, the Blaney, the Chase, Reddick, those guys waiting to pit till stage 3. I didn't really understand that strategy at all until I was explained, it was more of, yeah, we're going to be in the back of the pack, but as long as we still have the track position to go up there and race with new tires versus those guys that were probably 25th and above, it made sense in the end. So, I mean, I see why they did it. And I mean, I think even with Chase, I mean, even if it was close to Larson, I don't think he would have caught him. But overall, I thought the race was great. I mean, it was definitely better than the last 2 Cup road course appearances that we've had. And I mean, it was a good race. I mean, I think the coverage is what kills it. And I mean, I think Fox tried because it was their last race on the season, and but missing crashes and flat showing interviews with 5 to go, and missing MTJ running out of gas. I mean, but I mean, it is what it is. But I want to talk about the KB and Ross Chastain incident coming to the last few laps. So what would you guys' thoughts on that? Ross was just too aggressive? Was it KB's fault? Was it just a racing incident? What you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, Thomas, go ahead, bud.
I just think, Ross Chastain was too aggressive and just flat out wrecked Kyle Busch. I mean, that's what I saw when I saw the clip after the race. I mean, they didn't show it at all on TV. Not that I saw. I saw it on Instagram a little bit later in the evening after it happened. But to me, it looks like Chastain just wrecked him.
Yeah, I'll say it was kind of egregious as far as like going in and diving in, knowing, willing to use the guy outside up. And that's what it was. I even saw something where he said in an interview today he didn't know really what happened with the 8. But come on, dude, you dive bombing him into that turn and not really caring,
I just think he wasn't even close to making the corner. That was my thing.
No, not at all, man. You're going to use that guy up and turn 4 tires into 8. So I just didn't like it. It's kind of Chastain's been doing a really good job lately of balancing aggression versus respect. I thought, especially after the talk last year with Denny and stuff. Now, there was obviously the detriment that Chastain Trackhouse fans are going to say once Hendrick and Trackhouse tangled, or really the 5 and the 1 tangled in Darlington over a year ago. But I think he. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I didn't like the move, right? But, I mean, that's why we watch Ross Chastain is for those aggressive moves. So I just didn't like it at the last lap where you're really not needing to get that extra spot, right? I think the risk reward just wasn't there for me. And now, I don't know, man. They keep poking Kyle Busch, man. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but, like, that dude mess around and doesn't make the postseason, watch out. He's going to have a hit list.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be some people that ain't going to make it far in the playoffs.
Right. And I think he's going to keep receipts on that. And, like, say the 1 makes it and the 8 doesn't. Yeah, you better watch out. And it ain't going to happen in Atlanta. But
no,
Darlington, it could run up on the wall or something and squeeze him up there. Martinsville, Bristol, the Roval.
The good thing about that is you're naming all of these cutoff races that we will be at.
Yeah, that's true. And then or be like Harvick and wait till the Roval to get back at somebody. Y'all don't know. Y'all Chase fans don't know nothing about that, do you?
Oh, I know a lot about that. It's all good because if that's the case, then he'll just wreck himself going into like the next turn or so on and so forth.
That was I was there for that race, and that was the most interesting thing about that race was how, because it happened right in front of me, how just the mere threat of Chase coming back up through the field and caused Harvick to go into 1 and cook it and hit the tires. But that was so we'll see, man. And I will say, in talking earlier, what Thomas said, JGR's engine troubles is something I think they're probably really concerned with over there. Talking this, today in debriefing, because that's highly unlike JGR, and then highly unlike any team in the next gen era. We just don't see lost engines like we used to. So, very, very interesting. I know they're concerned. They got to be, man.
For sure.
Yeah, regarding the JGR engine troubles, Kaleb was over there today, and he sent me some pictures of some sheet metal they had for sale, and they had a Mavis quarter panel. I was like, that's cool. How much is it? And I think Kaleb said it was $800. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a little ridiculous. And then Caleb's like, well, yeah, they got to pay for all that engine trouble, all that, all they got to pay for some new engines, so they gotta charge for that sheet metal.
Oh yeah.
Hey Kaleb, did they have any door numbers? Because those go quick there. But last time I was in there, they had some 54s.
They had a couple 54s and they had a couple 20s.
Yeah, those are the ones
I saw the 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a 20 Joey Logano, and I've got 11 FedEx Denny Hamlin. So I need a 19 and a 18 or 54, depending on whatever, to complete my JGR run. But I mean, all in all, good race, boys, for a road course. I'm obviously happy as a Larson fan, and I know you guys probably aren't as happy, but I do think Chase coming out second in the points is something. If you're a Chase fan, you got to really look at. I mean, dude's run good all year.
Oh, yeah, that's what I say. At the end of the day, I look at being, even though bitter about it, I was. But end of the day, I mean, like you say, I mean, if he won, I honestly think he would probably be number 1. But either way, once Truex had his problems and Denny had his, I was like, yeah, we're going to be second in points regardless. But I mean, like you say, I mean, what, 9th place average of amongst the whole field. I mean, he's top 20 in every race. Like, I mean, I think I saw a stat and it was like, this is his full now. Sonoma yesterday is now his completed season since the injury, and they're like, he's just been so like top 20 every race, no speeding penalties, nothing like that. So, I mean, like I say, I look at it like this. even though we aren't winning, they're still doing work. They're still putting in the work to make him have top 5, top 10 cars, and that's a good morale boost. And this kind of reminds me of his 2020 and 2022 season, because I feel like once he does get to the playoffs, I feel like you're gonna see another beast come out of him that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah. And I still, on my ledger, I still have him winning at least one, maybe both, but at least one of either Watkins Glen or the Charlotte Roval.
Oh, for sure.
I hope it's the Roval.
Me too. Me too. But Thomas, you want to go ahead and put it on the meter?
Sounds good. I think for me, I'm going to give the Sonoma race a 7. I think it's above average, but it wasn't perfect. I think it earned a 7. Given last week's podcast, I talked bad about Sonoma, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed the race. I mean, it could have been a little boring at times, but overall I did enjoy it. So I think a 7's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 7 also. I'll give that Sonoma win to Larson. He never wavered yesterday, so I'll give it to him.
All right, and I'm gonna go 8 only because of the Larson effect, and I like it anyway. I gave it an 8 on the fan count, so I'm gonna stick with 8, and overall a good road course race for the next gen. So we'll hope to build on that. The repave turned out okay, and yeah, it was a good race. So on to the next, man. So we were pleasantly surprised all around.
Absolutely. So let's dive into our trackside chatter here, folks. And, we have on our DuPont hats and our Jeff Gordon shirts, and I'm sure Jeff Gordon underwear if you're Gene. So, so let's talk about the man that raced for Hendrick Motorsports for 23 years, and just kind of shout out Jeff Gordon. So let's discuss some of our favorite Jeff Gordon wins, favorite Jeff Gordon schemes, favorite Jeff Gordon moments, or just talk Jeff Gordon, man. It's episode 24, so we got to give credit to where credit's due to the man that drove the 24 for Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, and as my shirt says, this will always be my guy. Really, I was a NASCAR fan before Jeff Gordon came along, but I became a NASCAR fanatic because of that man in the 24 car and in the rainbow scheme for Hendrick Motorsports, man. He burst onto the scene, was young and brash, and at the time giving guys like Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd and those guys, Jeff, not necessarily Jeff Bodine, but Terry Labonte and just guys, stalwarts, Rusty Wallace of the sport, a little run for their money. And this kid, and Ray Evernham and the Rainbow Warriors were awesome. It was just a good time in the sport, man. I definitely pay attention. I've talked about an autograph session he had in Gastonia, North Carolina, when we had our Walmart in that town open, and he was kind of a lesser known driver, but he showed up there in my hometown at the time. So it was easy to become a fan. Then he won the first race I attended in person at the 1998 Coke 600, where he took 4 tires to everybody else's 2, and started a little bit back on a late restart and blitzed them and got beat Rusty Wallace for sure. But all that, and really, I was in college at the time at the 97 600. It was another one where he won. So going back to back there was enough at Charlotte and everything to solidify it for me. But yeah, just always been gracious when I've gotten to meet him. I've had several opportunities to meet him and stuff, and good dude, heck of a driver. Easily, you could say top 2, 3, 1, but 93 wins, 4 championships. Would have had 7 if they would have kept the current Winston or the old Winston Cup points. And
I'll argue 8.
Oh yeah,
I'll argue 8.
Explain that, Kaleb, because for the listeners, man.
There's certain years, man, that I feel like, obviously 2007, 2014 sticks out to me as well. And I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a lot more actually. But I mean, like you say, they had to change the rules for him and Darrell Waltrip, during the time period. So I mean, with that, he would have, with the old new point system, he with the old point system, I should say, he would have been a champion, and especially 2014 for sure. That's one that stings to me more than anything, at least to my era wise. But like you say, man, I think you hit the nail on the head with Jeffrey, man. I mean, the GOAT, plain and simple, raced in every era from 93 up until 2015. I mean, the most competitive era I think he raced in. He got in any car, he could wheel it, he could drive it, he can go to any track and win it. And I mean, he won on every type of track. And at least for me, when I started racing, my birthday fell on the 24th, and Jeff Gordon drove the number 24, and that's kind of how that happened. And been a fan since 04, and yeah, just like you said, had met him twice, and never seen him win, and I never got to check that off the list. But I seen him come close at the 2014 Bank of America 500. So I guess I count that. But awesome guy. Love seeing him race. Would love to see him get back in a car, even if it's a truck or Xfinity at Martinsville. But I mean, some Jeff Gordon races that stick out to me, which is my favorite, obviously Martinsville 2015. But I think 2011 Atlanta battling with Jimmy Johnson, that's a real fun one to me that I always go back and watch, between him and Jimmy slipping the slide and going for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, although Dale Earnhardt Jr. and that Budweiser number 8 has always been my favorite race car driver and probably always will be, Jeff Gordon was never my favorite, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for him and what he's done for the sport. And not only what he's done for the sport, but he's done for the fans. He's very personable with the fans. He takes his time to meet and greets. He signs autographs. And like you said, you've met him twice, Kaleb, and I haven't met him yet, which is definitely a goal for me in the next couple of years would be to meet Jeff Gordon. But he's top 2 for me of all time. I have somebody else at number 1, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jeff Gordon and everything he's done.
Yeah, for sure. And let me see here. You brought up favorite races and stuff like that. Gosh, there were so many, but really what really sticks out in my mind was the 1998 season where him and Mark Martin battled it out all year long, man. It just felt like that year, if Jeff Gordon didn't win, Mark Martin won. And it was just a tremendous Hendrick versus Roush season where, in any other year, Mark Martin would have had his championship, but Jeff Gordon won 13 races, man. And he was bad, fast everywhere they showed up. And that and the 2001 season are my favorite 2 NASCAR seasons for obvious reasons. But really, if you twist my arm, it's that 98 season, man. The 50th year anniversary of NASCAR, and Jeff Gordon just blistering everybody wherever they showed up. And he didn't even care where they showed up. And the Rainbow Warriors and Ray Evernham had them covered in the pits. And that awesome Rainbow 1998 Chevy Monte Carlo is one of my favorites of all time, man. So, yeah.
For me, I'm going to probably pick the obvious pick that I think a lot of people would agree with, and that's going to be the 2001 Bristol night race, the bump and run. Was that 2002?
2. Yeah.
See, I'm a Junior fan, not a Gordon fan, so I get that right.
You had the race, though. You had the race.
It's going to be the bump and run race, and I even though I'm a Junior fan, I'm going to have to say that 2001 Monte Carlo that Jeff Gordon drove is going to be top 3 most beautiful paint schemes of all time. Like that is my favorite Jeff Gordon paint scheme. And I think another one would be the black and orange DuPont COT. I think that one, and the 2015 Homestead Cars Final Ride, that one is another really nice paint scheme, which I think is underrated. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that paint scheme a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I got a question to pose to y'all real quick, Kaleb, before I get to you. Is and I go back and forth. I've probably gone back and forth on this pod, but if I had to pin you to one of 2 paint schemes, do you like the the Rainbow Warrior scheme or the Fire and Flames, which is your favorite, man? Because I go back and forth, man. So I just was going to ask both of y'all which one.
Simply because I grew up watching it. Definitely the Fire and Flames, 100%.
Okay. Thomas, would you agree with that because it's more your era?
I don't know. I probably have to go back from when I was like really, really little or before I was born. 2000 to 2002 is going to be the peak Jeff Gordon paint scheme, in my opinion.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's 2001 and 2 is that Fire and Flames, man, which is amazing. I mean, I don't know if you really don't show it on Diecast as much, but the outline of the flames, it was almost like different colors as you walked around the car. It looked like it changed colors. So that was a really cool thing. I really do have to go with that Rainbow Warrior scheme and refuse to lose with the pit crew. That shirt, Kaleb, we've talked about that. We tried to get Abby on board at the Hendrick gift shop to print and order some, but they have a copyright issue with that. So she couldn't do it. But that 1990, really 92 to 90, 1992 to 2000 rainbow scheme is still iconic, and they're both iconic. But I love that one. I would love to have a full car sitting in a living room like Denny does of that car. But yeah, man, just golly, man, he's just icon status. If you ask me who's my favorite athlete of all time, it's Jeff Gordon. Like, it is, golly, man.
You gotta, and I look at it in a sense of, this is a guy, who came, the pretty boy from California, as they classified him, who brought NASCAR to probably places that NASCAR probably didn't think it could go, because they were sending Gordon to do all these media stuff up in New York and LA, and he was the pretty boy, so he was the face of NASCAR during that time. Him and Dale Earnhardt was doing the media stuff with the autograph signings and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool, and just seeing the Jeff Gordon effect and how much in the media he was, like you say, the Nelly video and everything, and how his jackets inspired a lot of people, and I guess influencers now. But no, I'm Thomas. I'm kicking myself because how could I forget the bump and run race? That's one of my favorite races, top notch. It was just everything that happened in that race was unbelievable. But I got to pose a question to you two. Jeff Gordon announced his retirement, let's say sometime around 2017. Does Jeff Gordon reach 100 wins?
Wow, that's a really good question.
It definitely could have happened, but we're not. I don't know post 2015 and filling in for Junior. I don't know, but it definitely could happen before that. But say he doesn't retire and he goes a couple more years. Does he reach 100?
So that would have been 2 more years, and it would have been 3.5 wins. So he would have had to have like a 3-win and a 4-win season. I won't doubt the man because of how he ran in 14. And I mean, he ran good in 15, but that if memory serves me, the way I was following it, like it kind of was wearing on us and him as fans with each race had gone by without that dub until, the fall.
Something happened in the late end of the season.
Yeah, but that re-energized the whole doggone thing in one race, and he was racing for a championship, the next week. So I say highly likely, wouldn't doubt him. Would have been awesome to see, but in no way do I think that, does that overshadow anything? Because, man, I don't know if anybody's getting to 93 wins the rest of my lifetime in the Cup Series. It's just too hard to do that kind of stuff and dominate and have 13-win seasons. And, it's just, you don't just see that. 7-win seasons like you dominated nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But
what do you think, Tom? You think he could have got to the century mark in 2 more years?
I'm gonna go with what you said. I think it's highly likely that he could have got it done. That obviously that win in 2015 at Martinsville kind of brought back Gordon and made that brought back the strength. So I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that he does reach that milestone in 2 more years, or with 2 more years.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. Because let's see here. That was right about the time Jimmy stopped. Well, I mean, he still won. Don't get me wrong, but like 16 and 17 for sure.
It was that 18, 19,
Yeah.
20 that it was just kind of.
Yeah. We, as a Jeff Gordon fan, I guess, and I hate to say even mention this because you're talking about a teammate, but we probably needed Chase to take Jimmy Johnson snowboarding in in those times.
Oh my God.
Because I mean, gosh darn, if Jimmy Johnson wasn't around, it'd be interesting to see what Jeff Gordon could have done. I mean, it sucks to say that because he owned half of that car,
Yeah,
and brought Jimmy to the Cup Series in 2002, and to see that success, and I know he's proud of it, and I know he's proud of Jimmy. We all remember those times where we were like, "Gosh darn it, was this guy?
Will it ever end?"
Yeah, like, is this guy going to win everything?" Him and Chad, but no disrespect to them, they did their thing. But man, there was times it was hard as a 24 fan in this. And I guess when I give y'all a hard time about Chase, I mean, I guess I can't really say much because like that's probably how y'all feel a little bit being Chase fans, and then Larson's doing his thing. So I get it.
I will say there's probably 2 drivers that I probably would have thought would have caught up the 93. And no doubt Jimmy Johnson was one of them. But I'm going to say Kyle Busch and the Joe Gibbs 18, when they were knocking off wins, man, I was getting kind of worried at one point, man. I really was. But
Yeah,
those are probably like the only 2 drivers I think would have caught Jeff.
Yeah. Now you can safely say, and even I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. Like William Byron started young, and he's knocking some down, but I still can't even see him doing it. Larson won't get to 93. He spent too many wasted years at Ganassi finishing second.
Oh man, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh yeah, listen. I mean, he might have, if he got in Hendrick equipment early on, it might have gave it a run. And I still don't even know if he'd done that. He's a lot more checkers or records than Jeff Gordon ever thought of being.
See, but I think if he would have got out of Ganassi and was, I guess Hendrick, I think he'd probably be, 40, 45 wins by now, man.
Yeah. Put a pin in that because I got something on my outro I want to go to for something. I want to ask y'all a question on my outro, but anyway, nobody's gonna see 93, man, and I'm proud of that. And Jeff Gordon and all the 24 fans that are still going to the racetrack wearing that gear should be proud of the fact that this man was one of the best, if not the best, to ever do it. So,
for sure.
Cheers in our 24th episode to the man,
Vice Chairman Jeff Gordon. Thomas, I want to throw this little tidbit in because of Thomas. I meant to say this in the racing rundown, but Kyle Larson is currently tied with Dale Jr. in Cup wins in the series now. So,
dang it,
Yeah,
why'd you gotta get him all riled up, man?
Man, I was starting to like Larson. Now you just brought all the. I mean, I was starting to respect Larson more and more every week. But now you're bringing the hatred and the anger back out. You're bringing the demons back out now.
Yeah. Anyway. Yep. He knew what he was doing too, Thomas. Don't let him fool you. He knew what he was doing.
I mean, I've said it and I'll say it again. I think Kyle Larson is one of, if not the most talented race car drivers in the field today. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing I can say. Larson's got a lot more wins, ahead of him, and possibly more championships. But
realistically, it's funny. Denny talks like Larson will have no problem getting to his level one day, but like honestly, because of those Ganassi years, and I think it would be a awesome to see Kyle get to 50, but I don't know. I think Denny's going to get to 60. But I don't know about Larson. That's going to – because he always talk – he might walk away in 5 to 7 years. So, like, getting to 50 might be where I would say I would feel comfortable. Let's try to get there. But I'm not sure if 60 or even is going to be a thing. So, won't take away from his legacy either. But I'm just saying, nowhere close to 93.
For sure.
All right, Thomas, did you have anything else on that awesome that was a really good topic. Well, I could still talk about that, but does anybody else have anything on that?
No, nope. we could go a whole nother episode, man.
I know this might be
a whole month of episodes just talking about Gordon.
This might be a revisit on the off season where we spend the whole episode just going through notes and the whole entire career of Jeff Gordon. But let me hit y'all with the Speedway Spectacle real quick because I wanted to talk about a race. Iowa Speedway. I got to be honest, boys. I don't know what to expect on this one, and I had trouble doing research just because I didn't know which direction. But let's talk about this 7/8 of a mile oval short track in Newton, Iowa. Never heard of that place. And let's see what we're going to see when we go there this weekend. I found real quick, man. I find it interesting that it's called the track address is 3333 Rusty Wallace Drive in Newton, Iowa. I thought that was pretty cool.
Does he own Iowa Speedway?
I mean, did he design it or help?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I'm looking and I don't see anything where he owns it, but he may have had some input into it. And again, I didn't see anything that confirmed that, but I will say that it'd be cool. Obviously, if it's on Rusty Wallace Drive, I would expect to see him grand marshal this thing or be at the track at least like he was in Darlington. I hope so. Obviously with MRN, I guess he would be, but we'll see. But so the interesting thing, I'll kick it to you guys for any thoughts. But I don't know. I can't remember when the announcement that we were going to Iowa for the Cup Series was, but it was probably late in the game, so to speak. So they didn't have time to repave the whole track because it gets cold in Iowa, right? So they repaved, just parts of the track, and I think that was a weird thing to some people. But there was that was basically the reason because it was going to get too cold to do a full repave. So, but I think it could. I think it could lead to some interesting racing. And what are your thoughts on that? We're back to a short track. I don't know if NASCAR has announced what tires coming, but man, if they didn't, I think, it was too soon. I guess they're not going to do the softer tire compound that they did in Wilkesboro. But what are your thoughts? I mean, I wish they would, man.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's actually in my stat. So, they did a tire test, a couple months back, and, it will be the same primary tire from Wilkesboro, but it's not the option tire. And, I just think it's going to be an interesting race with what happens with, the repave and the turns. And obviously with the Wilkesboro tire, that's not the option tire. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see. I mean, I know the four did the test at Sonoma and we saw how that worked out. And I mean, I don't, regardless of who tested Iowa, I mean, I just think it's going to be kind of like Sonoma where it's just, you're not going to know. You're not going to really know until you see what happens in the race. And I think that's what it's going to boil down to. But I mean, hopefully, I think we, again, still won't have much passing unless you have a fast car. And, I just think it's just not going to be a good tire overall, but I think the racing will be interesting with the Cup cars at Iowa. I mean, the Xfinity Series always puts on a clinic there every so many years, or up until 2019, 2020 they did. But I think it should be an interesting race.
I will confirm that Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell conducted the tire test for each manufacturer. Right. So let that be known before we go into our picks. But Thomas, what are you thinking about a well, I guess short track race. I guess. I mean, it's a little longer than.
I mean, I'm not looking for anything spectacular. To be honest, I think this is going to be another next gen short track race. I mean, I think they could bring a good tire. They know it could be a really good race, but I just think we're gonna see what we expect to see, and that's somewhat of a short track race with little to no action.
Yeah, I hope not. And I like your pessimism last week turned us into a decent Sonoma race. So hopefully it'll rub off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do this because it's a bit of an unknown with this track. And I won't lie to y'all. I don't even know if this is going to be on the schedule next year. I don't know if this is just like a filler.
I think it will either way. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's go into our picks and see who do we think is going to be fast and get the pole for the Iowa race. And I'll have to look it up just to tell you what the name of it is while you're doing that. So anybody want to lead off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get mine out the way. And yeah, so obviously we're going to a new track, and Fords have been hitting on, been finding some speed lately in past few races. So I think Joey's going to keep his trend up and do good at a new track, and I think Joey Logano will get the pole for Iowa.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna stick with Ford. I'm gonna say Ryan Blaney gets the pole.
Oh wow, you guys, that's interesting. The Iowa Corn 350. I would love to know what tire they're actually bringing, because this race is going to be run at 7 p.m. And I'm not saying it's going to be cold in Iowa, but it is a night race on Father's Day. So, with that being said, I hope we do get some tire degradation. But I want to say that the tire test is going to yield positive results for the number 11, Denny Hamlin. He's going to sit on the pole.
I like it.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much the king of short tracks right now in the Cup Series, and knows how to get her done. So, all right. So I see Kaleb got the first pick in the polls. Let me do this. Let me give it to Thomas this time. So you don't get sniped.
All right. So when we were discussing Iowa Speedway, I heard Rusty Wallace's name being thrown around a couple times, and
Rusty Wallace ain't racing.
Oh, I understand that. I know he's not racing, but Rusty Wallace isn't racing. But that number 2 car is still on the track. So for Iowa, I'm gonna go with Austin Cindric to get his second win of the season and his third win in his career.
Interesting.
Wow. Let me tell you something. That is the ballsiest pick in 24 episodes on the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast. Kudos to you.
I don't know. I mean, he picked Noah Gragson from Martinsville, and
but I don't know if that was really realistic. I don't know about that one.
I gotta be honest, Thomas. I like your brashness on these picks, man. Because I mean, you're bold and unapologetic. All right. Well, I feel certain he didn't take Kaleb's pick, so let's move to Kaleb. What do you got, buddy?
So, the Cup guys have never raced at Iowa. So I looked at the Xfinity stats, and my stats led me to lean with some drivers who've had success at Iowa, who's raced in Xfinity. So I had some eyes on Ryan Blaney. I had some eyes on Brad Keselowski. I had some eyes on even William Byron. But the thing that separates the guy I'm picking between the other few, is that Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, those guys won it. Even Ryan Preece, you can throw him in there. These guys didn't win Iowa probably 8 years ago, going back 8 years ago. So my winner for Iowa is the guy who was invited to the tire test, and he won in Iowa in the Xfinity Series in 2018 and 2019. So I'm going with Christopher Bell winning Iowa.
Oh, man. And he had the advantage of a tire test. So that is not a bad pick at all. Wow. I could see that. All right. Well, let me round this out with. I do think going and on this repave and getting the tire test track nobody's been at in the Cup Series. I like my boy Kyle Larson to go back to back and get win number 4 on the season, and really cause us to have some issues on the pod next week.
Yeah.
And I know we get back-to-back wins with the 5 car. You know, all the benevolence and the goodwill is going to go out the door. We're going to be full on. Two of the 3 members are going to be full on just upset with it. So,
well, you
I'm
know,
gonna pick Kyle Larson.
I like it because, you know, he's not dealing with the waiver BS no more. So, you know, he's good. And, you know, Jeff said in that post race that the 5 team wasn't, you know, it didn't affect them and whatnot. And I think that's completely bull jive. But, you know, I think, you know, once he got his waiver, what did he do? He went out and won the next race. You know, NASCAR had to give him a little leeway since they made him wait. So, you know.
Yeah. Listen. I 100% agree with you, Caleb. So, like, Kyle came out and said, I wasn't really that worried. And then Jeff was like, well, I was kind of worried. Jeff Gordon, that is.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to call BS2 on my boy even and say, listen, man, the only reason you weren't worried because you just going to run and do wing sprints and midget cars and everything else, and you're going to be fine. But, I mean, yeah, that was a thing last week. That was a real thing. So anyway, we'll see what we got, man. I'm excited to see a new track, but I tell you, man, if I spend all of Father's Day just chilling and getting, you know, eating whatever I want or whatever, and getting getting waited on hand and foot, which don't ever happen in my house, but probably ain't gonna happen Sunday either. But I will say, man, if I get on there Sunday and get a bad race, man, I'm gonna be upset, man. I hope not, but we'll see. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else, man, before we kick it back to Thomas?
No, I'm good.
I do not.
Okay. All right, man.
All right, we'll move on to tonight's Fuel for Thought. And for the Fuel for Thought, I want to bring up the DEI number 8 font and the trademark that has expired as of June 3rd, and it has been held by Teresa Earnhardt for roughly about 17 years. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. Holdings has applied for that trademark. And I'm glad that hopefully he'll be able to get it. And I really want to see that number back on the track, whether, you know, obviously in the Xfinity Series or whatever happens. I would love to see that number back on the track. And I tell you, if that number does come back and somebody wins with that number, it's a guaranteed Diecast pre-order. I don't care what the driver is, what the paint scheme looks like. I need it. And I'm going to be a fan of whoever that driver is too, because that obviously, me being a Junior fan, that number 8 is very important to me, and I would just love to see it back on the track.
Okay, so I got something for you. Junior gets the number, owns the Cup team, puts the number on the track, puts Austin Dillon in the car. You're an Austin Dillon fan?
Yes. Wow. Well, actually, hold on. I'll pull for him. Yeah. I'll pull for him for sure, but I'm not going to ditch Chase or Denny. I mean, I'll pull for Austin Dillon to win. I mean, I will, but I'm not getting rid of Chase or Denny. I mean, I'm still going to stick with them, but I will pull for Austin Dillon if he's in that 8 car.
I got an even better one. What if John Hunter Nemechek gets in that 8 car?
I couldn't decide between the two.
No. I can't go that low. I mean, Austin Dillon's there, but, you know, Nemechek's just no. I can't do it. I mean, yeah. I guess I said, you know, I'll definitely buy the diecast if there's a winner, but I can't bring myself to pull for Nemechek.
But no, on a serious note, I mean, it'd be cool. I hope Junior gets it. I mean, I was sitting there when I was at DEI, you know, I was thinking like, man, you know, I wish he would, you know, have the rights to all that, you know, Dale Earnhardt stuff, and you know, because I know he would make some use to it, and you know, heck, even like you say, if he had a Cup team, I would want them to operate out of that shop, out of that building, man. I mean, it's phenomenal. But I really hope Junior gets it, and hopefully once he gets it, Teresa stays away, and hopefully gives him the reins to other DEI and Dale stuff as well.
Yeah, I haven't followed it as intently, but like, is there any kind of like timeline? Because I know it's anything to do with court, there doesn't seem to be a real timeline anymore. But like, is there like a timeline for this that anybody knows of, or we just kind of we're at the mercy of the
No,
court?
I was reading some articles and I was watching some videos this week, about this topic, and I didn't see any timeline or any, expected dates as far as when we'd hear an answer or whatever. I didn't see any timeline for anything. I guess it's probably gonna take a while, but
Yeah,
I haven't seen any, estimated dates or anything.
yeah, and this has probably been mentioned before, but like it would just, regardless, if Junior got the 8 trademark, Thomas, it would be just cool for you. But like, look at the hats me and Kaleb are wearing. Like, these are the actual logo from the 90s, and that one too. And then like you got this, 24. It would be cool for you to get like a hat like this that had the Budweiser Racing or something with that 8 font on it.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
like NASCAR shop would sell that.
Yeah.
All the Junior Nation fans, I would wish that for them. Regardless of what happens on the track with the 8, I just think selling that merch and bringing back that throwback stuff would be super cool.
Facts.
Yeah. Now I have a question for Kaleb. You went to DEI today. I'm not really familiar about like what that building is being used for today. Is it accessible to the public like at all? Like can you do anything there, or is it just sitting there?
It's just sitting there. From mine,
Okay.
it used to be open, and then
Yeah.
the pandemic happened, and that was, I guess, Teresa's excuse to finally close it. And from my understanding, it's just been sitting there ever since. And I just, like I say, every time we've rode by there, the gate's always locked and closed. And I just happened to ride by there today, and it was open. So that's why I kind of took advantage of it, because I was like, I don't know when it's going to be closed again, or it will be open again, I should say. And I was like, well, if I get locked in here, I just get locked in here, and that's pretty much that. But no, it's not open to the public, and God knows when it'll ever be back open to the public.
Yeah, I've ridden by there a couple times, and it's obviously been closed, or the gate's been closed both times, and it's I would have loved to have the opportunity to ride up there and walk up to the window, be able to see and everything. And you mentioned how eerie it was being there, and that's kind of how I felt being able to walk out on Rockingham a couple weeks back. That's kind of how I got the same kind of vibe, kind of like it's just nobody there, and it's just like all the history. It's just it's a weird feeling.
So
that
I did hear you could go across the street to Earnhardt Technologies, and they build a lot of race car parts over there, and they got a lot of cool stuff over there. And I think it's another place near there, or somehow Earnhardt tied. It's called Circle Track Used Parts, and they have, I want to say that different Earnhardt cars, or different cars that a bunch of cool stuff that a lot of race fans like. So I heard that was around the area. I just didn't venture over there and whatnot. But I know other than DEI itself, there's an employee building to the left of it. And I know some people were still like going in and out of that as well. So I don't know necessarily what's going on back there, but I know from where I was at DEI, it was literally just vacant, and just the museum and the car and the trophies up top and the Dale Earnhardt photos behind the car.
Yeah. And boys, I've mentioned this on the pod too, but can we all just agree on one thing? If DEI is still a race team in 2024 run by the Intimidator, I think Junior has at least 2 championships.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That might be conservative, but I think the way he was running when his dad was alive, and what they were building over there, I just think he would be a multi-time champion at this point, with probably at least double the wins. And I'm not an excuse or anything, but just the weight of everything on him throughout his career, it's just amazing. I'm so glad he's a Hall of Famer, man, because he deserves it. I don't care what you say about what happened on the track and injuries and stuff. He was just, him and Gordon, they carried the sport after Earnhardt passed on the track in 2001 and for a long time. And then you throw in, Tony Stewart coming in and about that same time. And it was a good time, but I really think he would be a multi-time champ.
Okay. So do you think that regarding his teammate, does Michael Waltrip has much more success than what he currently has?
Not really. I mean, I hate to say this about Michael Waltrip, but he was basically a super speedway specialist, and he might have had a few more wins, I think, but I don't know that changed the trajectory. That would have changed the trajectory of his career too much. So if he won, what was it, 3 races and then an all-star race or something like that, so he might have got.
He won, 3. It was 2 Daytona 500s and then a Talladega race.
Yeah, and then you got the in the Citgo car, he got an all-star win in the 90s, but maybe he gets to maybe 5, 6 wins, I think, but I don't know that drastically changes things. I tell you when I always look back at the DEI years, if Steve Park could have stayed healthy, Steve Park was a hell of a race car driver, and I think that would have been the guy I would have put who could have got a lot more wins and really maybe, heck, who knows, maybe even a championship. But
you took it. You already ran with it. I was gonna ask about Steve Park.
Man, he was awesome, man, back in the day, and a lot of people forget that Rockingham win right after the week after Earnhardt perished on the track in Daytona. I mean, Junior's mind wasn't even in it, and rightfully so, and he crashed out in Rockingham pretty early, but Steve Park brought that victory home, man, and that's I think that was a big healing point. Even the later on in the year when Harvick won in the 29 car, that was awesome in Atlanta. But that win in Rockingham that day did a lot for the sport in general. And Steve Park would have, he had several really, really bad crashes, but I thought he was a heck of a race car driver in his time, man. And unfortunately, injuries got him. But yeah, I felt better. I was always more like watching the 1 car than the 15, but I liked them all. I did.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, Thomas has graciously passed the Diecast reveal to me this week. So I got one to share from recent times, and I'm gonna bring it out here right now. And this car has a lot of significance in Hendrick Motorsports history, and for whatever reason, I'm a little disappointed with the packaging, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this is the fall Texas race when William Byron's car in the playoffs, and it's the 300th win of Hendrick, so it's a playoff win with the playoff band, the windshield banner and the spoiler. It's got the Texas shaped confetti all over it, which is pretty awesome, right? It's even got right here in the C post the 300 win, and which you're not gonna be. Oh man, I'm starting to get some glare here. You're not even gonna see that, but it's on the C post. Trust me, boys. But just a heck of a cool car. But when Jimmy won in Darlington in 2012, there was a big set you could buy. You get the 124 Jimmy car, and you get 164s of the other Hendrick cars. And it was in this really nice bookcase. You know what I got with this thing?
A win card and a piece of confetti.
First of all, I got this box. And this is the same doggone box. If you bought a Spire Motorsports car or, any kind of car, you're going to get this box, right? Yeah. And so, I opened it up and expecting to get some goodies. and I do get a win card that I'll show you guys here. You get the traditional win card. Willie B's holding it up in Texas, holding it down. Awesome.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. And you get the win sticker. I'll show y'all. Obviously you get the win sticker with the 75th anniversary, but that's every win last year. This is all I got, bud. Well, I about dropped it. This is all I got, man.
That's Lionel for you.
I don't know. Hendrick might be on a budget. I don't know. Lionel might be on a budget.
So Lionel's clearly on a budget.
So that was it. I mean, beautiful car, right? This is all I got. And for those on Spotify, it's an oval sticker about maybe 2 inches, 3 inches in oval. And it just says, it's just the logo. It's what they probably stuck on the car, on the seat post, which is cool. But that was it, man. I just kind of was let down. That was a monumental moment. And I don't know. Lionel does things differently in 2024 than they did in 2012. But that's all, boys. I just want to show you that, man. I definitely – that goes in the Hendrick case as a milestone win. And Byron's got a few of those recently. He's got the 40th anniversary win. He's got a Daytona 500, and he's got this 300th win. So,
yeah,
definitely wanted to get it. So, that's the Diecast reveal for the week. Kaleb, did you have any Diecast reveals or anything? You gonna save yours?
I'll go ahead and knock mine out.
All right. Yes.
So you guys were with me when I got this one. It's been put on the on the shelf, but I brought it back out, and I've been looking for this car for a good while, and so this is the 2018 Chase Elliott Napa Patriotic paint scheme that he ran at Charlotte Motor Speedway in 2018. As you can see, the military vet on the windshield, and beautiful car. Really love it. Definitely goes well with the patriotic schemes that I've recently started collecting. So glad to be able to get that. And well, let me not say patriotic, but the Charlotte patriotic schemes I've started collecting. But definitely one I'm glad to have, and got it for a really great price considering this car is nowhere to be found, and I think it's only like 500 and something made. So glad to finally get it. Oh well, 613. I'm sorry. So glad to have it.
Yeah, still a very low production number, and we were with you, and you absolutely stole that from that vendor, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that car, and I sold it, and I don't know why I did that. And I got some stories that we'll get into in the off season. My dummy self had cars, sold them. Sometimes I have sold them and regret it, and then I buy them back somewhere else, which is the worst you can do as a diecast collector. To be honest, I am guilty. I will raise my hand. Seller's remorse, if you will. So
while we're on the, I guess I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. I'm just saying we'll get into it in the off season, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, since we're on the topic of diecast and Lionel, I don't know if the listeners caught Diecast Mania on Race Hub the other night, but Lionel really said they put attention to detail. The CEO, the assistant, and their design team, they really put attention to detail and put a lot of effort and hard work into their diecast to make it just like the actual race version. And Thomas, I see you're down there smirking. I think they're I'm surprised they didn't have their quality control, on the interview as well. So I was shocked to see that. But just learning a lot about diecast and how they used to operate. And the guy who made the first diecast, Rusty Wallace, 164, and Rusty was kind of like, I don't want that. And then he told the guy that made it that it'll never sell, and now he's making millions or was making millions off of it. And then he sold the rights over to Lionel, and now we get what we get with Lionel instead of Racing Champions and whatnot.
Yeah.
That was an interesting show, and then I don't know. You think about like some old brands. So you just brought up Racing Champions, and then Hot Wheels was in it for a minute and did their thing. But the one that sticks out to me that was actually really good quality and gave Action, or what we know as Lionel now, Action to run for their money was that Team Caliber brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Their stuff was really, really well made. And Racing Champions is kind of like the entry level, I thought, unless you got one of their owners or what would they call, like Premier Series or something. But those were really done well too. But man, I think I had to get a Racing Champions version of the 1998 Ford Roush number 6, driven by Mark Martin Valvoline car, which is one of my favorite paint schemes as well. Obviously, because that was the Gordon versus Martin, Hendrick versus Roush battle. But I had to have that car. And that's a Racing Champions, like some kind of a, I think, Elite Series or whatever. But that Team Caliber stuff was always pretty awesome quality-wise. If you ever find those, we'll next race we go to, boys, we got to look for some Team Caliber stuff. You can be had for cheap depending on what you get. Oh, Thomas, you might have got one. It was probably the Ryan Newman custom version. Was that a Team Caliber maybe?
Yes, that was a Team Caliber.
Yeah. So you already know how good that is.
Oh, yeah.
Quality.
Yeah. Yep. I also have a Terry Labonte Team Caliber that I'm looking to make into a custom. So
yeah.
See how that goes.
Yeah. For the listeners, Thomas is dabbling into the custom game, and me and Kaleb was sitting over here talking about how we're going to add decals to Diecast and make them more accurate and stuff. And Thomas is quietly over there making custom Diecast, and I've seen at least one, and it turned out amazing, man. So keep up that good work. Maybe we'll do something on the pod and showcase some of your hard work, man. But next thing, Thomas is going to be a custom Diecast seller on eBay before too long.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's just being able to make race wins for obscure races or for stuff that just wasn't produced or didn't meet the quantity to be produced. It's just cool to make unique things that other people don't have.
Yeah, awesome. And that coupled with your programs for races that don't make programs, I think you do a pretty good job there too, man. All right, I got a little something for an outro if we want to get there.
Hey,
sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been holding this one, but I wanted to ask y'all something, man, that I actually saw on socials this week. But boys, it got me thinking after our talk about the demise of Stewart-Haas Racing, man. And I want to rewind back to post-2020 season. Y'all are happy Chase has gotten his championship. We don't know what's going to happen with Kyle Larson, but there was a lot of talk about Kyle Larson and joining Ford and Stewart-Haas before Ford was like a little skittish on Larson at the time. So I think Tony had some real big discussions with Ford to try and sway them, and it didn't work. But it got me thinking, you'd have Harvick there still doing his thing. He had a really good 2020 with Denny Hamlin. And it got me thinking, man, if Ford would have come off of that and Stewart-Haas would have signed Kyle Larson, would we be talking about Stewart-Haas Racing shutting down in 2024? Thoughts, comments, what concerns, what y'all got?
Yes, I still think so. I still believe Harvick and Rodney Childress was the glue that held SHR together when Tony and Gene were not there. And we saw after Harvick retired, it just pretty much just crumbled at that point. And Harvick, pretty much hit it up, forever, it's forever. And then all the other forevers, and now it's for sale. And then, I don't think Larson would also have the success that he had at HMS, has at HMS as well. But I still think and believe Stewart-Haas Racing, simply because Tony Stewart's, he was pretty much out of it for the past few years. Gene Haas has been out of it for the past few years, and they haven't really been at the track. And Rodney and Kevin have really just been running that operation over there. And I just still think either way, just because Tony and Gene aren't really that involved in it, the cookie would still crumble.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Larson was over there, I mean, obviously he's a very talented race car driver. I think he would have some wins, but he would have nowhere near the success he's had at Hendrick. And like you said, Harvick and Rodney that was the glue for Stewart-Haas. And once that was over, once Harvick retired, that initiated the whole crumble. And I don't think it would have made much of a difference at all with Larson being there.
Okay, and that's fair. And I do tend to agree with y'all, but it begets one more question from me, and that is all that's relevant, and I agree. But what I'll ask you this is put a number on it. Like, so you'd have Larson going into the 2021 season, 2022 and 2023, and half of 24. But so I'll give it a good 3.5 years. Wouldn't definitely have the success. I agree with Thomas. Wouldn't have a championship per se. No. But how many wins? Put number on the win total that Stewart-Haas would have enjoyed having with Larson there. And I don't want to even say anything to put any words in anybody's mouth. So think about that for a second and let me know in 3.5 years, if let's say Larson was in the 14 car with a decent crew chief or above average, how many wins do you think Stewart-Haas gets to enjoy post 2020?
I'll say 12.
Okay, so roughly about 3 to 4 a year.
Yeah, 12.
Okay, that's fair, man. That's actually more than I thought you would say. And in that equipment, in that situation with kind of detached ownership, let's say. Thomas, what do you got?
You say 12. I'm going to split it in half and go 6.
Yeah. So you're thinking more like 2 wins a year.
Yeah.
See, but I'm looking at it as Larson gets in the car, can drive anything. That's the way I'm looking at it. I mean, we've seen time in and time. Equipment. Yeah, but we've seen also where there's been races where Chase Briscoe could have won. And I mean, there have been races where he has back. Let me not say back, but I mean, Phoenix was a win. I feel like if they bring that same setup, with Larson in Phoenix, he could go to Phoenix and have a shot to win it. But I also think there are times where, Chase Briscoe has not executed to get in a win, and put Larson in 5. I think Larson could do it.
Yeah. And I guess the bigger question too is like in Larson's best year with Ganassi, what was that, 17? He got four wins.
I'd say 2017, yeah.
So if let's just say Stewart-Haas would be on par with that, you could maybe say he'd be 1 year he might get 2 wins, 1 year he might get 4, 1 year he might get 2 wins again. So it could be about 8, but yeah, 6 might be the floor, and 12 might be the ceiling actually. So that I think you guys did a good job setting the floor and the ceiling of what that could have been, but definitely probably not enough to keep them going, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just thought that was very interesting if Larson could have saved them, but it don't sound like either of them owners are real interested in NASCAR, and then maybe just not even interested in losing money if ownership's losing money right now.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was all I had for the outro, man.
Yeah. I just want to say, Thomas, I feel bad for you since Casey Kane Racing is not open to the public. I feel kind of bad. Me. I was like, I was excited to go by there, but definitely open, but just not open to the public. And apparently you can see into that garage, and you can see that Dodge Richmond car up there, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Oh man, are you serious?
So I think
that's one of the main reasons I wanted to go up there was to see that Richmond car.
You can see it. It's gonna have a little tint to it when you look through the glass, but I think if you go on a Thursday or something when they're loading up the sprint car on the hauler, you might be able to see it then when they had the gate up. So might be a good chance then. But other than that, Casey Kane Racing is not open to the public. Found that out today.
Well, I mean, as you guys are aware, and as the listeners are aware, I was very lucky to be able to meet Casey Kane at Hendrick Fan Day. So, I mean, I'm not too pressed about, having to meet him again. I mean, it's unfortunate that the race shop's not open to the public, but I'm just glad I was able to meet him when I can, because that's not something that, is going to be very easy from here on out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think every race fan should be able to meet their driver at least once, man. It's a cathartic experience, right? When you get to meet your driver for the first time. But
oh yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a very Jeff Gordon-esque episode, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, boys. And we're on to another milestone, which would be episode 25 next week, and Kaleb will host it. So I'm looking forward to it.
For sure. I'm good.
All right.
Thomas, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast. If you like what you heard, you can find us on YouTube, X, Spotify, Instagram, and you tune in next Monday, to watch us do the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast for episode 25.